So, you know that you want to be married. You know that you desperately want to connect with a Christian man who is equally serious about being married and who will love and value you deeply. But for some reason, you keep connecting with a man who is the opposite of what you want and who wants opposite of the things that you want. Why is that? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why that is and the 4 things that you need to master in order to get closer to the man that you want and who wants the same things that you want. And if this is something that you're looking for, then this video is for you, and I highly encourage you to stick around because it's going to be good. I'll see you on the other side. Well, hello there and welcome to the channel. I am Cynthia Wright, the creator and founder of The Waiting Room Life. And if you are new here, welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of these wonderful conversations that we are having here on the channel. So today I really want to just get into it. In the intro, I asked about, well, I didn't ask about, but I just made the statement that a lot of you ladies that are subscribed to the channel, you know very clearly that you want to be married. You want to connect with your Boaz who is equally serious and interested about being married, and you want that to lead to a Christ-centered marriage, right? But for some reason, you keep connecting with the wrong type of man. And so I want to communicate one of the main reasons why that possibly is. And I want to kind of share it in a parable. And I really encourage you to stick through this video because it is going to change you. Okay? If you allow it to, it can be life-changing. So the number one reason that a lot of us would not connect to the right type of man is because we don't really understand our value. And I know you might have seen a lot of videos, know your worth, know your value, blah, blah, blah. But you really need to grasp the power of knowing your value. And something happened this week, and I'm telling you, the same way that I train the ladies on this channel, I train my youngest daughter, who's 13, in the same type of principles. And so I want to share with you something that happened. And again, like I said, Jesus, taught lessons in parables, and this is going to be a powerful parable. And I'm going to share with you the 4 things that you need to master as it relates to knowing your worth so that you can get closer to the man that you desire to connect with, and that relationship will lead to a Christ-centered marriage, right? So my daughter, I think she has like 7 or 8 American Girl dolls, okay? So she's grown to the point where she's over it, right? And so she wanted to sell some of them. So I'm like, okay, so let's go ahead and, make sure you, iron their clothes, kind of clean them up a little bit. And we're going to put it on Facebook Marketplace. Now, there's this one doll that she has. It was a custom doll, right? We paid $200 for this doll. And so she's had the doll probably 5 or 6 years maybe. But she's taken excellent care of these dolls. They're literally like new. So this same doll, 6 months ago, we put on Facebook Marketplace and we tried to sell the doll. So about 6 months ago, once we listed the doll, a lady reached out to me, and I think the doll might have been up maybe 3 days. Lady reached out to me, and I was excited. I'm like, shoot, Hannah, we already got a hit. So the lady was like, I'm really interested in the doll, and but let me step back. When I listed the doll 6 months ago, one of the things that I listed on there, local only, wasn't interested in mailing it, didn't want the hassle, just wanted to meet somebody, get the money, here's the doll. So the lady that reached out to me, she was like, hey, I see that you've listed this doll and it's local only, but would you consider, mailing the doll? And I was like, well, I guess, if you're a serious buyer. I said, but I hadn't factored in like the shipping and blah, blah, blah. So she was like, okay, well, can you give me like a rough estimate of the shipping? So I kind of Googled it. I kind of gave her a rough estimate, and I'm like, but that does, I really don't know, like, like how much for the packing and blah, blah, blah. So she was like, okay, well, can you figure out, exactly how much it would be with the shipping and the packing and all of that? Because, I have this budget and blah, blah, blah. So already I'm thinking, okay, here we go. So, but again, she came right out of the gate. 3 days later, I'm like, okay, she's a serious buyer. So I go to UPS, and I had her, like, her zip code. While I was there, I bought the box, had to buy the packing, and I think the packing was like $15 or $16, right? I think it was like, no, it might have been like $17 or something like that. But anyway, so I get all that together, had the doll in the box. They weighed it. They gave me a price. So I reached back out to this lady, and please stick with me, because I'm telling you, ladies, this story is going to bless you. Reached back out to the lady. I said, okay, I went to UPS. This is how much it's going to be on top of the selling price of the doll, right? So then she was like, well, true story, that's like $1 something more than, I was willing to spend. So, do you think maybe you can, pick up that cost? And I said, ma'am, I'm already picking up the cost of purchasing the box and the packing for the box, which is like an additional $17 that I'm eating, because the shipping was the $1 something more. So she wanted me to roll that up into what the shipping was going to be. I'm sorry, what the box purchase was. So I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that. And so she kind of implied that I was being petty, but I'm like, hey, this is a custom doll. You're already getting a deal on the doll, because I think my daughter was selling it for like $80. We paid $200 for the doll, and it is like new. So you're already getting a deal on the doll. So she wasn't willing to pay the $1 something more. And ladies, listen, it can sound petty all day long, but number one, I already compromised because I said local only, and then I extended myself. She seemed like she was a serious buyer. I was willing to ship it. So I passed. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not eating the extra $1. We're already picking up the box and the packing for it. And if you can't see that as an added value, I'm sorry. So I passed, right? So about a week later, she reached back out to me, and she said, well, is the doll still available? I thought about it. I'm now interested. I didn't even respond to her. Now, fast forward. We just relisted the doll on Facebook this past week, right? Well, really this week, because it's still Saturday, this week. Lady, first day, put the doll out there. She reached out to me. She's like, hey, is that doll, available? Yep. And she said, that's the custom doll? Yep. Immediately, she saw the value of this $200 doll. So she said, if you wouldn't mind, now mind you, there's pictures already, of the doll on Facebook, different angles. If you wouldn't mind, can you take the hat off the doll, and can you take the glasses off the doll? I just really want to, see the face. That was reasonable. I'm sure she wanted to make sure that the hair hadn't been cut on the doll, the face was in good condition, because we listed it like new, because it is like new. Sent her those pictures immediately. She said, perfect. I want the doll. I'm going to send you the money via PayPal now. I said, okay. I said, now, the shipping is about $15, $16, because again, I got the actual numbers like 6-8 months ago. I think like 6 months ago when we first started trying to sell the doll, so wasn't sure if there was a shift in pricing. She was like, oh, no problem. She said, I ship things often, so I guess it's roughly $15, $17. That's fine. I'm going to send you that as well. So the lesson that was learned, and I told my daughter, when you know what you have, when you know what you have. You don't have to haggle and you don't have to settle. So I'm getting ready to give you the 4 things that you need to master as it relates to knowing your value. You knowing your value, right? And the reason why I really wanted to start with that story was because I wanted to give you something that we can connect with, but then I'm gonna wrap that up at the end. Now, so let me back up. Number 1, the first thing that you need to do is you need to define your value. And when you don't define your value, then you wind up allowing somebody else to determine what you're worth, right? And why is this important? Knowing your value directly impacts your confidence. Your confidence level impacts your esteem. And then when you know how valuable you really are, then you will make the decisions that you need to make that are in your best interest, right? Not because you're not really sure of your worth and what you're going to bring to the table, then you find yourself kind of compromising more, and all of the compromising that you do is to the benefit of the person on the other end. But just like that second lady who bought that doll, right off the bat, she saw the value. She knew that she was getting a deal for a $200 doll. She was going to pay $80 for in like new condition. She was willing to do what she needed to do. And the reason why it benefited her was because I knew that I was not going to go past what I knew the doll was worth. Go under what I knew the doll was worth. That was for me to establish, not the buyers, right? So number 1, it is for you to define your value for your very own self, right? And then the decisions that you make out of that value that you have set within yourself is going to determine the decisions that you make. And when you make those decisions, they will be more beneficial to you, right, than the other person. Number 2, the second thing that you need to master is ignoring the self-doubt. And it's that self-doubt that a lot of times keeps the gulf between what it is that where we are now and what it is that we desire, right? And so Romans 4:19 says that Abraham, being not weak in faith, he didn't consider his own body now dead, nor the deadness of Sarah's womb. So while those things might have been a physical reality, he did not consider it. And so when self-doubt shows up and you're not sure of what you have to offer to a man in a relationship and who you are is going to benefit his life and be a blessing and all of that, when that doubt shows up, because it will show up, you're going to either consider it and you're going to make moves based off of the doubt that you're now considering, or when that doubt and that insecurity and all that stuff shows up, you need to swipe and ignore it so that you can stay focused, and I mean laser focus, on the man that you desire to connect with and the marriage that you want out of it. And you have to master the ignoring of that self-doubt. Number 3, you need to know that you are handmade. You need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are handmade by the Creator himself. And what that means is the way that God created you, there's certain things about you that a man can't get from nobody else, right? So you need to know that you are valuable because of whose you are. Not just what you have to offer, right? But whose you are, right? And so when you know and you recognize that you are handmade by God, and the way that you really get in gear, where you really embrace that, what scriptures are you meditating on that talks about you being wonderfully and fearfully made, that you are the apple of God's eye, that God sees you as a ruby, and God, through the shed blood of Jesus Christ, he wanted you so bad that he laid down his only begotten son's life for you to have a relationship with you, right? And when you realize just how valuable and handmade you are by God, when you really tap into that, honey, you're going to have to fight trying not to be vain. I'm just going to let you know. That's the third thing that you need to master, is the knowing of whose you are and that you are handmade, right? And it's just like when you think about name brand purses, right? Maybe like a Chanel or a Fendi or a Coach. Those things, those brands are very different brands, and there's certain things that a person who, if that's their thing, that's their brand, they can only get from that brand. They can only get from a Coach. They can only get from a Fendi. They can only get from a Chanel. And you have to see yourself as that. And then the fourth thing that you need to master is holding the line. What do I mean by that? Don't choke. Don't start compromising your values, your standards, your expectations, right? Because somebody shows up, just like the first buyer, the first lady, she showed up. I'm like, okay, hey, she really wants this thing, and I compromised, right? And in the first compromise, I'm like, okay, I'll eat this cost. But then that single compromise, because she wasn't a serious buyer, she wanted me to make another compromise. And when we connect with these wrong type of men, that's what happens. When you don't hold the line and you start shifting down and shifting down and shifting down and shifting down, then you wind up yoked up with somebody who in the first place didn't line up with what you desired in a man. And then in the second place, he didn't even possess the same desire and interest in a relationship that you desire, right? And it's because why? You didn't hold the line and you choked. So wrapping it up with the parable with the purchase that we just made this week, we connected with a serious buyer who saw that I didn't have to sell this lady. I didn't have to, but let me take her shirt off and show you up under her arm, and let me give you the receipt, and how much I paid for it, and let me make all these proofs to you this, proof to you that. No. She showed up and she recognized the value of this custom-made doll, and she was willing to hurry up and snatch it off the shelf before somebody else got to it, right? And so, because I knew the value and I established it, I connected with the serious buyer who recognized it, and we were able to make the exchange. And so when you understand your value before you ever show up on the scene of trying to connect with a man and all of that, you have to really master these four things. Because these four things, and let me just run them down. Defining your value. You defining your value. Ignoring the self-doubt. Because, honey, I'm telling you, you possess what a serious man is looking for. But you have to ignore that self-doubt. Number 3, knowing that you are handmade. There are things about you that a man can't get nowhere else. Nobody. There's only one of you. And hold the line. Do not choke. Do not start compromising and shifting down and shifting down and shifting down just to be with a man. No, ma'am. And just like we connected with this serious buyer this week who saw the value of the thing that we were offering, be it unto you according to your faith as you master these 4 principles that I just shared with you that will make the greatest difference in your life. And I'm telling you, you will go from begging God, you will go from being discouraged about connecting with somebody to being confident that when you show up, it ain't a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, and just making sure you're connecting with a serious man who is serious about being married and wants the value that you have added to his life, and he will snatch you off of the shelf, honey, with a wedding and an I do, because he knows that there is nobody else in this world that can give him what he's looking for but you. Amen. Ladies, I hope this was a blessing to you. And if you would be so kind, if it was a blessing to you, make sure you share this. And I want to hear from you in the comments section whether or not this was a blessing to you or not. And if there's any other topics that you would like for me to share on the video, on this channel, because again, this channel is for you. It's about you. The content is for you. And I want to make sure that I am delivering the topics and the content that will better serve you. All right, ladies, I hope this was a blessing to you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.